Hi, everyone. My name is Phil Blancato. I'm CEO and president of Ladder McDonald Asset Management, chief market strategist for Jose. Welcome to the last weekly market impact of 2025. Today being the 29th of December. We're going to wrap it up this year. I will do a longer podcast in January, first week of January, kind of look back at 2025, things to remember, and then I'll look forward to 26. But today I thought I would just keep it short and fun. The last few weeks have been very busy, very long podcasts, so I thought I'd make it interesting. My camera's a little off today, forgive me. There we go, that's a little better. But I thought it'd be fun to have a special guest today. You often hear me talk about my family and my friends, especially my kids, and what they do for fun. So one of the two of them is home today. The other kid is not feeling great, so we're gonna give her a break. This is Marcella Blancato. You've heard a lot about Marcella over the years. She's an exceptional young lady, very proud of her. She works very hard at the University of Georgia and wants to be a doctor. Why do you want to be a doctor?
Just want to help people.
Okay, you gotta speak louder so they can hear you. So you just want to help people. Okay, great. So I'm curious. Do you ever listen to these podcasts? So my own daughter, of the thousands of people listen, doesn't even listen to the podcast. What's life like at the University of Georgia?
It's hard. I mean, I'm always studying, so it's a little bit busy, but it's always fun, especially in the fall with football season. So,
Excited about the big game on Friday?
yep, super excited.
So good, some fun news. We'll be going down to the game. We're gonna cruise in, see the game, and cruise back. I'm very excited to be down there and looking forward to experiencing New Orleans. We have dinner at a restaurant down there, and you're gonna get to try the real New Orleans cuisine, which is New Orleans, whatever. It's really good stuff. What's it like being my daughter? Is it good or bad? I don't know. You
It's
can throw me
good.
under the bus if you want.
It's fun.
We
Um,
have fun. We do have a lot of fun. And, this time of year we celebrate a lot of family stuff. Anything about the holiday season that you really enjoyed?
I love Christmas Eve. That's always fun with the seven fishes that we do. It's always great.
Yeah. And then you got Christmas Day with your grandmother, who's very what's right, a little bit. I don't want. She's a little over the top. She's great, but she's very rich, very structured. So Christmas Day is a very structured way to enjoy it. But we have a great time. We're very, very lucky. When do you go back to school?
January 11th.
Few more days of Marcella being home. Very excited to have her home. We've had some fun. She made me watch Grey's Anatomy, and I forgot I never really liked the show, and now I'm having to watch it because she's watching it. So I've watched a few episodes with her. It's been quite fun. But it's nice having her home for a little while. She's already a junior. My gosh, time flies. When she was in high school, as you've heard me talk about, a prolific soccer player, prolific track athlete, but just a good kid, president of the student body. And my favorite story about Marcella is that for a person who's relatively introverted, has become a prolific public speaker. She's a really talented public speaker. So I think that shows her ability to grow. What do you think of finance and investing? Interesting to you, not interesting to you? Do you
Yeah,
like
it's
it?
interesting.
Why do you think, does your generation like investing? Is it, you guys are this new kind of, I'm excited for your generation. I get the impression you all seem to really like it. But what do you think? Do your friends and do you talk about stocks with your friends or investing?
Not a lot. I mean, some of my friends that are in business, they're really interested in it, but now more and more people are trying to look into it just because it's interesting. I mean, you don't really like you learn about it sometimes in high school, but you don't really know unless you're a business major in college. But I think people are excited. It's like a different world. So,
It's the most powerful way to generate wealth. And that's part of the reason why I do this fun podcast, because we want to generate, help people become wealthy and avoid mistakes that are goofy and silly, but it works. And I think our family is obviously very invested in the stock market, but we own some real estate, the house we live in and the condo she grew up in. So that's all good. What's the best thing about this holiday season? See, I think the one thing you're going to say, what's the most exciting thing about this holiday season for you?
uh, well, it's been snowing lately. I like the snow.
No, the
So,
new addition to the family.
oh yeah, we have a new
Love puppy.
puppy.
Whiskey. Yeah, it's a fun story. Why is she named Whiskey?
After my papa
Yeah,
because when instead of saying cheese for photos, he would say whiskey when we were taking family photos. So,
that's what he did. Well, you're a fan favorite on here. People ask me all the time, how are you doing? And they know all about your history and what you're doing at school. So I thought it'd be fun for you to make a little cameo for everybody to come in today. Anything you want to tell to the folks who listen to this podcast? There's quite a few people who listen. Something like 15,000 people listen every week.
well, thank you for listening.
Well, thank you for joining me today. I love you very much. You're a special young lady. Everybody, my younger daughter, Marcella Blancato. See you, buddy. All right, go back to play with the dog. All right, I thought you'd enjoy a quick. I mean, you see, we're all casually dressed at home, enjoying some time together. It's been a really nice break, not over yet, and to do some fun stuff with the family is always exciting. I don't know how your weekend was. As Marcella mentioned, we had a wonderful Christmas holiday. Lots of food, lots of hanging out with friends and family, and hopefully for those who celebrate Christmas, it was great. And if you don't, you just got a chance to relax. It was funny. I got so many comments on my tweet about the winter solstice being one of my favorite days of the year. If you don't follow me on Twitter, yeah, you can go and look at the tweet. I don't think you have to follow me to see it, but I just had a little picture of the winter solstice and why I think it's an important day. And I didn't know there's a whole. I just found this out because someone tweeted back to me. There's a whole what's the organization of folks who worship the winter solstice, and they're non-religious, and they use it as their sort of seminal holiday of the year, or lack of a better word than holiday or event of the year. And to them, it's a really big deal because to them, it's just the new beginning that I see it as. But for those who don't celebrate holiday season, it's a big deal for them too. I do both, so there you go. I'm the eternal optimist. I just think there's always life is a lot easier if you're optimistic rather than pessimistic. I just think, yeah, and maybe once someone told me, said, "Am I setting myself up for more disappointments?" No, I don't think so. I think when you're an optimist, it sets you up to always look for an alternative way to fix things, to solve things, to help people, to be a better person, because you're always trying to put a glow to things that aren't glowing. And I think that's powerful. I think in the end, whether you're a Christian or a Muslim or whatever it is you celebrate, if you're Jewish, whatever your history is, you may have religion to fall back on from time to time to allow you to reset. And if you don't celebrate anything, I do think we need optimism in our lives to be happy. I think that's critical. And then look, I'm an optimist when it comes to the stock market because it's on average up every 3 out of 4 years. I watched David Rosenberg this morning on TV, and David Rosenberg is a very incredibly bright analyst. He's an older gentleman. He was at one point CIO, Chief Investment Officer of Merrill Lynch. Now he has his own firm, and he's been called the perma bear because the guy just always he's such a negative person. My gosh, he's famous for some of his work on when markets aren't doing well and when economies struggle. And he just went on to say that this year the stock market you would have been better off in T-bills this morning. And doesn't make any sense. If you're a foreign investor, because of the trade of the currency, the weakening of the US dollar and with the yield we got of currencies, your difference between currencies and stocks would have been about 3%. He's right. Mathematically, he's right. But how many people listen to David Rosenberg in Europe? Most of the people listen to David Rosenberg in the United States. He uses negativity to get people to watch his program, to read his articles. And my point in all this mumble jumble is that in this week between Christmas and New Year's, or these last few days of the year, hopefully you find those rays of optimism that get you excited for the year to come. I'm always a bit sad on New Year's Eve, that moment when the ball drops, because what didn't I accomplish? I don't know how many have. I wouldn't call it regret. Maybe it's a little regret. Maybe it's a little regret. Maybe it's a little regret, and that there's other things I would have liked to have done that I didn't. And it's in that one brief moment that I guess I'm not an optimist for a second when the ball drops, and then suddenly I realize after hugs and kisses with friends and family, it is the beauty of to come, the babies to be born, the weddings to be had, the stock markets to push to new highs, the probably the loss of people that we're going to love in our lives, and we could choose to mourn them and celebrate them, or both. I guess I don't know. I'm rambling today. Forgive me, but this time of year is a moment of reflection, and that you want to make sure you're not missing the mark by being too negative. I'd sum it up that way. I do want to get into markets a little bit and just to talk about this week. Generally, it's a pretty quiet week. We get a low volume week, meaning there's not a lot of trading because people are on vacation, they're home, they're not working. Me, for example, I'm home spending a lot of time with my family rather than focus on markets. It's a relatively quiet week. The Santa Claus rally certainly happened when you think about what's going on in markets. We had a really good fall. I mean, there's no doubt about it. For the quarter, the S&P 500 was up 3.91%. That's a really impressive number. For the year, the S&P 500 now up 19.3%. That's a great number. It's better than I thought we would get this year. I'm really impressed with how far the market has come in spite of Liberation Day, in spite of tariffs, in spite of a weakening labor market, in spite of somewhat sticky inflation in certain areas like steak. We went out to a steak dinner on that as a family. My gosh, this wow. We went out, Marcella's a boyfriend named Evan Sanchez, very nice young man. He came with us, and it's very expensive to go out for a steak dinner for four people. And my older daughter Luca wasn't with us, and it's you're not getting out of there in the New York area without spending at least $500. And the profit margins of restaurants are very thin. So there is areas where there's still some sticky inflation. But when you look at the market this year, the Dow doing 16.47, that's a very impressive number. And interesting, the battle between growth and value was pretty close. Growth did win. Growth stocks up 20% on the year, and value stocks up 17. So, but a very tight spread, not terribly wide. The winner far and away was emerging markets of 33%. Another mark, we're not done with this week, but a few more days here. And then finally, EFA up 31%. For the week, what happens in the Santa Claus rally? The winner was the S&P, really right in at 1.4%. Small cap stocks, which had really been rallying, took a breather, only up 0.21, still up a very nice, healthy 15% on the year. I don't think they're going to beat the S&P 500. That was my expectation going in, that we would see small caps be the winner on the year. That doesn't seem to be the case. But in fairness, it was a little bit of a Rip Van Winkle year. And I've used that phrase for 2026 a bit already, but it was Rip Van Winkle. If you fell asleep on January 1st, you had a balanced account. And let's just say you own the S&P 500 and the Barclays Ag, the Ag that represents bonds and the S&P 500 that represents stocks. You're split between the two. You did pretty well. The bond market's up roughly 7.3%. And I said the S&P 500 up 19.3%. You put them together, you probably have around a 10% rate of return, depending on your split between stocks and bonds. That's a solid number. It's better than the long-term averages. You didn't take a ton of risks to do it. You didn't get all worked up about Liberation Day. You didn't get all worked up about elections. You didn't get all worked up about consumer confidence being up and down or labor markets going up and down. You didn't get worked up about some of the policy and issues. You didn't get worked up about the wars that were going on. And you woke up and you're economically, at least, or portfolio wise, wealth wise, you did just fine. So Santa Claus sort of showed up in the famous term of a Santa Claus rally. I mean, I wouldn't call it so surprising. When you get this kind of stimulus in markets and you have this opportunity for markets to really be sort of supportive of what's happening. And really, it's about the AI trade. When you look back at the year, you're going to have to recognize that it really was AI that had a lot to do with it. Because there's a few things that I would just kind of basically hint at that'll be fun things to watch next year. For example, the labor market, as you've heard me say many, many times. As the labor market stays strong, so does the U.S. economy. The labor market went flat, hasn't added, hasn't lost any jobs post Liberation Day, about April. We really have been flat on adding and taking away jobs. We've seen some private sector jobs wean off a bit. We've seen those come down a bit, but in total, and let's not forget, some of those were government jobs that were eliminated because of Doge. But certainly, when you look at what the economics of 25, sort of a going back to normal job market growth. By the way, we're still at 4.4% unemployment, which is 6% below the historical average. We haven't added a lot of manufacturing jobs yet. For all the talk about data centers and a renaissance of manufacturing, that hasn't really happened yet. So, I mean, still more to come in next year, but keeping an eye on the labor market is going to be critical. But it's going to come down to tech earnings. When you look at the tech market, what's happening there, for example, when you look back at 2025, you're looking at double-digit earnings growth and revenue growth basically every single quarter. And here's the good news about tech. For everyone who wants to be you kind of dour on tech, you're looking at a scenario where in 2021, tech stocks had 40% earnings growth. 22, they lost money. There was a negative year, lost 5%. 23 up 9%. 24, the average is probably going to be around 26% earnings growth. And what's it going to be? I'm sorry, 24 was 26% earnings growth. 25 will be 20% earnings growth. This is all tech. So here's the big number. The expectations for 26, 18% earnings growth. And as long as that happens, the revolution in tech continues. Well, then you're going to continue to have the Mag 7 be the Mag 7. You're going to continue to have them be a dominant factor in the marketplace, even though they represent 40% of the return. They represent 34% of the earnings of the S&P 500. S&P 500 earnings are going to be around 19% for the year. That's really impressive. And if that's the case, then 15% of it is the Mag 7. The rest of it's doing about somewhere between 5 and 8% with energy down there at 4. So I guess when you look at it, we're still going to be talking about the Mag 7 for a long time to come. But as long as they're making money and they're creating this really incredible revolution, you have to ask yourself, is it bad? Is it a bubble? Was this year's stock market a complete farce? Well, if you didn't own the Mag 7, you didn't do very well. You did fine. I mean, I talked about some numbers earlier. Small caps up 15%. But by and large, the market was buoyed by those names. And what's important is those names, we believe, continue to have the expectations that they're going to earn money. Uh, so just in pure dollars, you're going to do, $700 billion in pure revenue next year by those companies. That's the most ever. Most ever. Better than this year at 699 billion. So what does it mean? That, at the end of the day, you can't deny that 27% of the S&P 500 earnings are because of the Mag 7, and it'll probably something like 28% next year. What does it mean? You still want to have a balanced account. I do think there's other areas in the portfolio that'll do well. Lower interest rates will help interest rate sensitive sectors like value stocks and small cap stocks, but you still want balance in your portfolio. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you still want to have a balanced portfolio that's going to do well regardless of the market environment. I think that's a story that we can't get away from, I think, just yet. I saw a fun article about 2026 and things that we can expect in 2026 that might be different than we are today. And I thought it was interesting. It's around tech, pretty much. That first off, robots are going to be entering your home, and then the idea that the whether it's your sunglasses, the Ray-Ban sunglasses, that you'll look at something and it'll analyze them for you, which I think is totally goofy, or the way we're going to use ChatGPT. I don't know about all of you, but I've been using ChatGPT almost every day now. Sadly, every time I do a search, it takes 10 times more power than a traditional search. That's a bit concerning. Um, but I do think that whether it's Japan turning on, they have 54 nuclear reactors in Japan. They have more than we do. And in a scenario where they're trying to turn them back on safely, whether it's the revolution of robotics in manufacturing or in your house, whether it's the glasses you put on your face or a little robot that's going to give you your medicine. There was a really interesting article about how seniors get their medicines wrong a lot, that the time that they're taking their medicines all at once can lead to dementia and different types of cancers, different types of bladder and kidney issues. Some that we can regulate the distribution of medicine to make sure it's being done right. That's here. That's a reality. But how long before the robot, waters your plants and takes out your garbage? This is not far away, folks. And I know some of it's goofy, it's not a straight line, you have the ability to do all that. But I think that's going to be a big part of 2026 is the evolution of robotics in our sphere. And I always talked about how robots are already here. Flippy the fryer at White Castle, 500 million baskets fried this year by Flippy the fryer. That's a robotic arm. It's not a person doing it. It's an arm that doesn't complain and just fries, French fries, all freaking day long. Frank's not a curse word. I'm just trying to be fun. There'll be some cool technology coming out that'll help us when we analyze our brain functions. There are bracelets that you'll put on that will tell the AI bot what's going on based on your mood, your temperature, your blood flow, and then the neurotransmitters that are coming out of your brain. So in other words, you'll put on a bracelet and the computer will be able to read your mind to help to analyze what's wrong with you, especially if you have neurological or brain disorders. Wow, that's scary. Um, Malware. This is a bad one that will probably get bombarded with additional malware. People trying to hack us by faking us out. Some of these AI videos that are completely. I have a little cousin. His name's Stefano Gaetano. Goes by DJ Fun Size. If you want, you can listen to him on Apple, iTunes, Spotify. He's everywhere. DJ Fun Size has a number of almost 20 songs he's recorded. He was nominated for a Grammy. He's a very talented young man. But he's now doing videos of him and different things on AI, and they're incredible. It's all made up AI videos that he puts out there about his latest song or album rather than hire some sort of agent or graphics agency. Incredible what you can do there. So AI will begin to fool us even more than it already has. I know like I said, I use ChatGPT a lot on different things for gift ideas and a friend of mine had a medical issue. We went into a deep dive on a medical issue. So I think it's quite exciting what it's going to become. And then Siri's going to catch up. That'll be the new one. That Siri kind of has been left out of it. Some of the fun things I think are going to come that's according to the article, you'll have internet everywhere. Oh boy, is that a fun thing? And you'll have competition for it. So now, the way Starlink is kind of dominated right now, every major internet provider, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, will give you internet all the time, anywhere in the world. Is that a good thing? Don't we like disconnecting once in a while? I know I do. I just think that may not be the best, but that's the way we're going. Do it yourself healthcare. That you're going to look at your phone and your phone is going to tell you all kinds of things that are wrong with you. Lots of analysis will come right through your phone based on scanning. And that's coming in 2026. And then the last one, a fun one, an electric, all electric Ferrari. So every major car company is going out with supercars that are going to be electric based. Let me see, the list is quite long. It's everywhere from Mercedes to Maserati to Ferrari. In fact, one of the cars will have an engine that was developed by, it looks like AMG, a 1,000 horsepower engine that's only 28 pounds. This thing will be a rocket ship on wheels. And sadly, I don't even know this, but electric cars are really tough on roads because they're heavy batteries in them, and they're beating up the roads. So while they're really fast and they can beat up roads pretty badly, so the more to come with, there's going to be electric cars everywhere. And then more than likely, you're going to see more and more people taking their hands off the wheel. You know, you're going to see the progress in the idea of a car driving itself will become much more significant in 2026. In fact, by the end of 26, maybe even allowing the car to drive without us watching. Oh boy. Are we ready for that? And the other big one is that Waymo will take over our lives. And we'll see a lot more Waymo out there. I didn't want to have a long podcast this week. I thought I would keep it simple. A little introduction to Marcella, a little market update. It's a quiet week. I'll do something more in depth next week. But I do have a fun shout out of the week. I got a couple, as I always do. My first one is a wonderful story. First, a public service announcement. It was an excellent article in the Wall Street Journal about seniors and the medication that they're taking and how it can lead to dementia. It was um it was eye-opening for me. If you haven't read it, and I just thought it was very powerful that it worried me that I think sometimes we take everything with a grain of salt when it comes to our, I'm sorry, everything at face value for when it comes to our doctors. And I don't know. I'm beginning to believe that this whole industrial complex of medicine's got me spooked. I know I personally had still some headache stuff, some tension things. I'm not a stress guy. I just don't stress out. And I went to see a neurologist, and nothing came of it. And they must have put me on 6 or 7 different drugs. What I ended up doing was just eating cleaner, taking a break, working on my sleeping, making sure I was getting better sleep. Um, that it's just I don't know. I came away spooked from my personal experience. Just throw medicine at everything to see what happens. But the article came out to say Medicare data reveal a widespread polypharmacy, multiple medications among seniors, with 1 in 6 taking 8 or more drugs, often from different doctors, leading to risk of falls, confusion, and dementia. I guess from when my dad got sick, it did taught me about that you really have to be your own quarterback when it comes to medicine, and you're gonna have to analyze your drugs, make sure the doctors know what's going on, somehow put it all together in a way that is not detrimental to the body, or especially the seniors who rely on it because they can't figure it out on its own. If you haven't read it, it's December 21st article. It really was quite fascinating. So, public service announcement. I'm getting a little bit older, 58. I worry about my health a bit more. Maybe we should think about what we give our parents and ourselves, and before we start taking things blindly, just be a bit more careful. So my shout out of the week is a great story in this past weekend's Wall Street Journal. I read the journal a lot. The journal's my Bible. If you haven't caught on by all these years, it's something I rely on. A phenomenal story about an entrepreneur, family business, and the gentleman's name is Graham Walker. sold his Louisiana company, which for $240 million. And I'm sorry, sold the Louisiana company for over $1 billion. But he gave his employees $240 million. He made sure his 540 employees got a cut of the sale of the business. And it was a business that ebbed and flowed and so on. They sold it for 1.7 billion and he gave the employees 240 million, 15%. That was a that was a had to be part of the deal, otherwise the deal wasn't going to get done. And why the deal got done is because they make parts for data centers. They make electronic equipment for data centers. And they were back in the day, were a phone company, made parts for phone companies, and now make parts for data centers. And of course, that all took off. And it's a great story about how some of his employees who started there in 1995 making $5 an hour got a check. Are you ready for this? $443,000, paying down debt, taking care of families, going on vacation, helping out loved ones. I mean, talk about doing the right thing. Oh, talk about an optimist. Talk about, I mean, granted, he still made $1 billion. Good for him. His father started the business, and he was bright enough to find a way to make it a profitable business. That's the American dream. That's why I still believe in American. He is the American dream, reinventing yourself to be able to do something powerful and generate all kinds of money. I just think that that story about Graham Walker and his family business, it's incredible. Yeah, and in fact, I have a personal one. I won't get into the details. I don't want to give it away, but I got involved with a cement company recently in a very small way. A dear friend of mine, a financial advisor out in Iowa, who had long-term clients, two people who I just think are incredible people, Pat and Sandy. I'll leave it at that. And their advisor Matt did something similar. They helped them orchestrate the sale of a family business, and they took care of their employees too, friends, family, and employees. I just think when people do things like this, whether it's Graham or Pat and Sandy and so on, they're just special people that they put love and family above the almighty dollar, and that's pretty cool. Isn't that cool? Anyway, I'm rambling on here, so hats off to Graham. I'm gonna end this week with a shout out to all the folks we've lost. This over the years. I've talked about my mom and my dad, but it's a nice moment to think about today, this week before the new year comes in. Let's say a prayer or just thank the people who helped us get here. My dad used to say, it's this time of year that we look back and appreciate all that what we've been given. And there's an old Italian Sicilian phrase that says "Buona fine, buon principio," and it translates loosely to "May you have a wonderful end to the year and an even better beginning to the year." And the reason why is because it's a moment like this that maybe we do give some thanks back to the folks who got us here, those who are no longer with us. Those Christmas Eves I celebrated as a kid, which were incredible. All these gigantic family, 30 and 40 of us having dinner. And while the size isn't as big, who knows? Maybe all the grandkids get married someday and we'll have all the kids will get married someday and we'll have grandkids running all over the place. That would be amazing. Have big family parties again. But if not, I guess for a moment, I'll say thank you to the people who helped get me here. My mom, my dad, my aunts and uncles, incredible people that are just a cut above. Right now, my Zio Augusto is in a nursing home, and he's in his 90s, and he's another of these incredible patriarchs that they just could put the entire family, the entire world on their shoulders and work every single day to help us all be successful. I love my uncle, and I'm sad that he's getting older. I hope he's still with us for a while, but I doubt he will be. So it's in these moments that we reflect back and simply say thank you. Thank you for all you gave us at this time of year when we reflect back for a moment. But be optimistic about what's to come in 2026. I think 2026 will be a fun year. I think there'll be some real interesting highs and lows, but in the end, the year that's going to have some real change in it. And that's going to be pretty interesting politically, economically, and who knows, maybe personally. You never know what's to come, right? Everybody, have a wonderful New Year's Eve. I hope New Year's Eve is awesome for you. I hope you do whatever it is you like. Go to bed at 10 and wake up in the New Year. Watch the ball drop on TV. Go into Times Square like I've done and celebrate, or just be with friends and family and watch the ball drop. Whatever it is that helps you kick the New Year off right, I hope you do it healthy and safe. And most importantly, reflect back for a minute on what we've got in 2025, what we were given, the success from friends and family and markets, but also the potential of the year to come. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Bye bye.